So I've currently got a mortgage on my house. I've come into some money. I got an inheritance. I got whatever it is. I've come into some money. I hit the lottery. I want to pay down some of the principal that's on my loan. So I'm sitting with Nick Pakulla today. He is my recommended lender. So Nick, the question is, I've got 20 grand, 50 grand, whatever. Mm-hmm. I want to put one huge lump sum in on my mortgage payment. Right. What does that do? Do my payments now become less because I've paid a bunch of principal with that down payment? What happens when I drop that big load of money in on my mortgage?
Yeah, the way that in the U.S. at least mortgages are set up is you pick your term. So most people go with a 30-year term, and then based on that 30-year timeline and your interest rate, the bank every month is getting the interest back on the loan. So no matter what your balance is at the time, the bank calculation always gets the same interest back every year on your loan. The same percentage of interest, I should say. So what happens when you make extra principal payments, you actually fast forward in the amortization table so that the next month's payment, you're paying the same amount every month, but the proportion that's going to principal is much higher because you're borrowing less money, and the amount going to interest is less. So you know if you pay, let's say $200,000 loan, you pay down $100,000. You fast forwarded, I don't know the exact year, but let's say you fast forwarded to year 18. All of a sudden in the table, your monthly payment again is staying exactly the same. It's just the proportion that's going to interest is less than it was with the $200,000 amount.
So on a 30-year mortgage, we have 36 payments, is that right? Or 60-some payments? How does that, I don't remember how many payments.
360.
360.
Yeah.
36,
yeah.
That'd be nice. All right, so we have 360 payments, and on every one of those payments, there is a principal amount that sits there. And that's kind of what dictates what the interest is going to be at that time. So if I put 20 grand in a lump sum in, it takes me from, as you said, whatever, number 1 to number 30. Right. So now I'm looking at number 30, and I'm able to pay more principal than I am interest, because that's just the way a loan works, right? So if I've got a 30-year loan, the first 15, I'm paying a whole lot of interest on that and not a whole lot of principal.
It's always simple interest, actually. They complicate it with the term, but really mortgages are effectively pretend like they're interest only, and then the term adds the amount of principal to make sure it's being paid off. So if you wanted to know the interest in the next month, the simple calculation, if you had a $100,000 balance, no matter where you are in the term and the rate was, let's say, 4%, it would be 100,000 times 4 divided by 12 would be the exact amount of interest you would pay next month. No matter if you started at 500,000 or no matter if you started at 100,000, that interest amount would be the same. Just your payment, the principal piece, will fluctuate every month.
Okay.
And I want to touch on one other thing. There is a way to do, depending on your servicer, a way to do what's called a recast. And that is, every servicer has different requirements. On average, just generally speaking, usually have to pay down more than $10,000 at a time, and you can't necessarily do it more than once a year. But you just check with whoever your servicer is, and that's who you make your payment to. But a recast is where if you pay down a lump sum, it actually will recalculate the table, and your payment will change. So if you started, let's say your payment's $2,000 a month, and you pay down your $200,000 loan by $100,000, you could do a recast, and your payment would go down instead of only having, let's say, 12 years left, you would still have however many years you had left. Now your payment would decrease.
Okay.
So two different ways.
So if I've been in a 30-year loan for 2 years, I get some money, I recast, it just now spreads the new principal over the 28 years. Yep. So that's how I'm going to lower my payment.
Without refinancing necessarily. Right. You can always refinance, but may or may not.
Does recast cost anything?
Typically, it depends on your servicer, ballpark $250 typically.
Okay, so not much.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
Awesome.